the indirect support, and that's the loans. We're not really, we're not, as obviously you could see some countries on the left are much bigger. In terms of the blue bars, those are the direct support. We're definitely, again, we're not the highest, but we're definitely not the smallest here. Let me say something of where are we going to be. These are forecasts. We're not too far from the Bank of Israel's forecast or by the IMF, and they relate to June. Things will likely deteriorate, but you could see that if you look at our debt growth for basically this is the bottom. This is here at the bottom. You could see that the orange line that gives you how much debt we've accumulated. Remember, I said we started with a strategic point of 60%, and we're likely going to end up at 75 according to their estimate. You know, these are going to deteriorate somewhat, but you could see in terms of the actual growth of the debt to GDP, we're in a common region by many countries. As I mentioned, we started out with a deficit that was slightly higher, and you could see that right here, that in terms of the increase in debt, which is the orange line, we're comparable, as even though there's a lot of talk about our increased debt, it is not very far from many other countries. Again, and even our estimated ending point of deficit, this is the increase in deficit, this is the where the deficit is going to be at the end of 2020. You could see that we are not very far from many countries, but I think where the lockdown will be and what we will do, we still need to determine that. I'll end with a slide that I use, which I normally don't use in the context of the corona crisis, but I would say Israel is facing also a productivity challenge going forward. And I'm talking about a 20-year challenge. This is making sure that other parts of we have the high-tech sector, which perhaps many of you know, and is definitely a thriving sector. And in fact, I believe that given our high exposure to these sectors, once we come out of the corona crisis, relative to economies who are, let's say, are based on old economy type of industries, we would be less vulnerable, and the dynamic economy that we know will come back in that respect. Having said that, Israel has several long-term challenges, which are on the left-hand side of the graph, and that is increasing our human capital, improving our schools. Our schools have, over the years, we see deteriorations in schooling outcomes and in various tests. We also need to improve infrastructures. Any one of you who visited Israel and have driven here during traffic times or even non-traffic time, it's very busy on the roads, and we need to improve that. And finally, our government sector needs to adopt, to be more agile, to reduce bureaucracy, improve digital processes. All these elements, we have a whole set of documents, and these are investments that needs to be done in order for us to be in a better productivity situation 10, 15, 20 years from now, so Israel can continue to grow at a fast rate. It involves bringing various segments into the working force, female in the Arab sectors, other sectors that needs to improve their human capital. In the short run, which is the 2020-21, we need to bring in some of these longer-term issues immediately, as much as we can, into a 2021 budget that will provide the framework and will towards these items. We will over will alleviate some of the uncertainty, economic uncertainty, both for the government agencies and for those who work with the government agencies, and that will itself help as you exit out of the corona crisis. There's a few slides here about the relationship with Canada. There, obviously, here I'm just speaking about the economic situation, and you could see that in general we have relatively large scope of trade. The balance of trade is that on average we export more than we import. Just due to time, I'll say that we can deliver those slides to the members if they want to. You could see the major industries that we are at. Obviously, I won't talk about the exchange rate. I will say that we see tourism is growing over time. Obviously, 2020 is a lost year in terms of tourism. We all hope that maybe in the second half of 2021 things change back, and obviously that's an important aspect for us and for the continuing relationship, both business and non-business. I guess I'll say a few words. I think the recovery, I think Israel is right now going into, is in a lockdown. We are debating how long this will last. This is not an easy question. We are bringing in the economic implication of these lockdowns. I think one of the challenges, not just in Israel but everywhere, is how to do these recovery scenarios. And we see in Europe there's also there's a resurgence of morbidity. So I'm not sure Israel, while we've made mistakes, and there's basically issues with large gatherings that have really prevented us from lowering the rate of morbidity. We are seeing initial signs of a decline in these things, but it's too early to make a call. But I think these types of issues are likely to show up in many other countries. I think as I'm thinking more generally outside of Israel, as an economist, there's going to be an issue of people naturally save more, and how to move these savings into consumptions and into what we call capex investments. There's obviously, as this event is taking longer, in the I'm calling the language that instead of a V-shaped crisis and recovery, we are now more like in a Nike logo event where it's a deep down and it's going to be a prolonged comeback. And the question is what are the implications for financial markets turbulence? And one, obviously, as supervisors, you always the banking sector in Israel is very stable, had a very good portfolio, entered the crisis in a very good situation, is in a good situation, faces various stress tests very well. But nonetheless, the question beyond that is just as this crisis lingers, what effects it has on various businesses. We know the crisis is not affecting everyone evenly. Small businesses are taking the brunt of it. Lower income workers are taking the brunt of it. There's also going to be major labor market functioning issues. We have many unemployed. How many will be reemployed? And there's going to be massive reallocation. Certain jobs are not going to be there down the road. I've talked a little bit about the fiscal support. There is a large deficit and increased